Welcome to the Voices of Healing series with me, Annie. This week, Polly joins us, an art psychotherapist who works outside conventional therapy rooms. She focuses on creative, flexible practices that honour neurodivergence and personal authenticity. Her approach challenges traditional frameworks aiming to reshape mental health support through innovative and client-centred methods. What lucky ducks we are. I'm honoured to be recording from Jara country and wish to acknowledge and pay our respects to the Jar Jar Wurrung people, the traditional custodians and caretakers of this land. We thank them for their care of country and honour their elders.
Hey, how are you today?
I am very well. I've been already working this morning, so I'm all warmed up for the conversation.
Nice. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your work, actually?
Yeah, oh yes, I can. Yes. No, of course, yes, I can. I talk about my work a lot, and I always think about this. I'm trying to be quite conscious about how I introduce the work I do in regards to like what I share and how I decide to kind of introduce it and myself as well. And you would know that as a psychotherapist who I am, we have to be quite careful, or at least we're told that we have to be quite careful, right? About what do we say? How do we talk about what we do? So that's straight away when you ask a question, I'm like, what am I going to say? Wait a minute. I'm talking to Annie, who I know, ish, in the past, in a different life. We've known each other. But obviously, we don't know who's going to listen to this. But I am an art psychotherapist. I work mostly online right now with neurodivergent clients, mostly women. I also walk and talk with some of my clients. So my practice is both online and in person, but not in a therapy room, not in a art studio that normally art psychotherapy could take place in, but also outside. And that outside here for me right now is the seaside, which is pretty cool. So my psychotherapeutic practice is creative, but not just rooted in art, but also in like the outside world, found objects, very often words, based on written words, kind of explored words, poetry. Yeah.
Do you know, it sounds so much more like the art therapy model here.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So we studied together over 10 years ago now. And
stop it. I know. This is crazy.
It was quite challenging because when I first came over here, it felt a lot more open and interpretive.
Freedom.
And you could be doing it in different spaces. You could be using modalities. As I think our practice was quite, this is what art psychotherapy is. You are an art psychotherapist, which was a really amazing basis. And I found it quite a struggle of thinking, but there's, different people working these different ways. And as we know, so much trauma and feeling is held within our bodies. So using our bodies in a more expressive way sometimes can be really helpful. And I think working with neurodivergent people as well, like some people can't sit still.
No, some people can. I mean, I'm sitting like this right now myself, but that's also why I work the way I work, why I had to kind of, similarly to you, I suppose, find my own path and courage in a way. Like I feel like it took quite a lot of courage and the kind of professional and personal growth as a psychotherapist to get to the place where you described it so nicely, and I'm actually writing about that in my book as well, where we have been given this very strict, actually, I would say, quite strict, quite beautifully boundaried. We need that, of course, but strict base and the kind of framework to work from, right? And which doesn't really, unfortunately, apply to each and every one of our clients that we face in whether it is therapy room or outside of it. And I think it takes time and it takes years of practice to be able to safely work with clients who maybe need other ways of attending to and meeting and looking at things together, etc. So this is really interesting. I find that really interesting, that kind of what we've been taught, what we've learned, and then how do we create our way of working that is still safe, still,
containing.
Yes, and still follows certain principles. How do we choose what we still want to follow and what doesn't fit anymore, right? That's something that again I'm exploring right now, and something that I'm sorry, but I when you were talking about how you had to kind of adapt and move away from maybe a little bit of that way of working, not just training, because obviously if you were practicing in NHS here in the UK, the certain expectations would still be the same, that you work in quite prescriptive way most of the time, which is crazy, right? Art therapy, prescriptive ways. It's like, ugh. But I also found myself, and my graduation and completing our course wasn't the time yet for me when I knew that I was neurodivergent. I actually explored my neurodivergence fair bit after that, few years, 4 years or so after graduation, after we started becoming therapists. And I think for me, accepting that I am thinking and exploring the world and perceiving the world differently also helped me to acknowledge that other people might need some different things from therapy, equally as they need from communication, equally as they need different things from the ways that the relationships that are safe for them are being built, etc., and so on. So that was a big journey for me, acknowledging that, hey, okay, I myself have different needs, process information differently, etc. So why would I use exactly the same tools with my each and every one of my clients, etc., and so on. So that had a big impact on me, allowing myself and giving that permission to myself to maybe adapt my practice a little bit as well.
Because we do bring so much of ourselves to
ultimately we do, right?
Yeah.
But that's another thing that we told that maybe we shouldn't, right? So there is this bit that I still am exploring, and every time I explain to clients, for example, in intro calls, how do I work? How do you work, Polly? What theories or what kind of school of thought do you follow, etc. I always say that this is where I come from, like a Jungian art psychotherapy. That's something that is important to me, and there are bits that I take from that whilst keeping my clients safe. I always kind of try to merge the two. I'm inspired by this. I might have evolved a slightly different way of working, but I make sure that those principles that keep clients safe in that therapeutic space are still there.
And I feel like since we did graduate, we just have so much new language, and which are giving words to things that we didn't have before or weren't discussed as much.
Absolutely.
Intersectional lens, like looking at things culturally appropriate, neurodivergent.
None of that was mentioned in our training, sadly. I think neurodivergence was only discussed in regards to children, if anything, a little bit. I think our friend Fran was exploring working with neurodivergent autistic children, etc., in therapy. That was, if I remember correctly, that was her little niche at that point, which was really interested in that. But it wasn't a part of the curriculum to find about adapting your ways of working, as you say, in accordance to any of those things that are so at the forefront very often now.
And really questioning how much we were like getting through the Western, normally male lens.
Oh gosh, yes. Yeah.
And it's been amazing because so much of that has been questioned more and more. I mean, when I came over here, it was a big learning of obviously Indigenous practices, Aboriginal practices, and appropriation as well, like how we've culturally appropriated so much stuff in our art therapy world. But we've got all of this bigger lens, which I think has changed us as people and as therapists, for you and for me, like having that kind of neurodivergent lens and more gender fluid, and there's just a whole world. I mean,
absolutely.
Like I said before, I'm very much going through matrescence at the moment with my 4-month little baby, and that's a whole new word. Like that's a whole new, of
course, right? Yeah. I remember when I was working initially, when I was I've used that word before today, this kind of becoming a therapist, right? I feel like when we graduate, we don't necessarily become therapists overnight, do we? It's like, I felt like this process of becoming a therapist is actually still ongoing probably, but I can recognize how different of a therapist I have been before I became a mother, similarly to what you're describing now.
Yeah.
How my practice has changed, how my understanding of particular human issues or problems or just matters that we might be considering in therapy, and my approach to them has changed. And I know, again, one part of my brain is like, but we've been taught that it shouldn't matter. We've been taught that we don't matter, that our experience. Yet I've seen how it has informed my work, and obviously this is conscious, so I can decide how it will impact it. It informs it, but I don't have to bring my personal experience to therapy for it to impact me, I think, right? So yeah, it's been really big, and it's also informed the groups of people that I choose to work with. I think, like, when I was pregnant myself, I've explored working with other pregnant women for a period, because I felt like this was something that I needed myself, but also I was curious about, and I felt like the shared experience is so unique and so short in a way. 9 months, if it all goes well, of your life might be the only chance to explore something in that way. So I was lucky enough to be able to deliver some workshops via the yoga studio where I lived, and we explored in kind of creative and movement inspired way our bodies, our relationships with our bodies, not strictly therapy per se, but very therapeutic kind of work that I was exploring doing at that stage of my life. I don't know if you get that as well, that things change in this kind of.
Yeah. During this series, I've spoken about that a little bit, like how I remember, like, obviously, so here you don't have to be taken. It's highly suggested and recommended that you have therapy during your training, but you don't actually have to have therapy during your during your masters.
Yeah.
But I was in therapy before the masters, and then, like, that was really intense, and then was like, right, got that down, know who I am, dealt with that anxiety, dealt with the panic attacks, and then later on, like, reaching a certain age, I was like, oh, there's this whole thing that I've been ignoring and coming up, and then obviously becoming a mother, that's completely shifted me. Again, as I change, it's like you're ever evolving, the therapist.
Absolutely.
And that will just continue and continue.
And that's beautiful. That's great, isn't it? It's difficult because you always have to kind of stay on top of that. You have to be like, oh, this is happening. But that's beautiful.
My brain's just thinking, going back to, like, working in more different ways, unusual ways, outside the box ways. I think let me try and get this out in a sentence. I think what's really great, especially when you, like, with our training, is it's because it is contained, and this is what it should be. It means you have quite safe practice, because the limitations are like this.
I agree.
So you're in a room, you meet for an hour. It's very safe. You're not going to be. You're going to be following the guidelines of your registered body in your country, so BAT and Sakada. Here, and there's a thing called the NDIS, which is the Disability Insurance Scheme, and some art therapists might be employed in that scheme, but not directly as an art therapist. So it's it starts to blur. They might be having therapy sessions in a cafe or going on a walk or in a museum. And again, it starts to blur and blur. And I'm thinking, as maybe a parent or as a loved one, what signs, what red flags are there for maybe, this is maybe not containing enough, or maybe unsafe practice. And then what may be the green flags? So, for instance, obviously a big green flag is that they're registered with their association, a body,
a body regulating body. So in terms of what red flags of engaging with a therapist that offers something like that? I mean, what? Okay. I think absolutely the green light or a green flag would be that you check qualifications and check the registrations and check, like, this is something that I bang on about. This this is another conversation. This is like, my brain is like sidelining. But there is, here in the UK and probably internationally, there is this big conversation on, especially in regards to neurodivergence, actually, on coaching versus therapy, for example, right? So what does the coach offer? What does the therapist offer? Why so many neurodivergent people post-diagnoses decide to go into coaching and neurodivergence kind of specific coaching, etc., and not therapy. And then that conversation that you've introduced around safety comes in really quickly whenever those conversations happen, and rightly so. You know, coaching in the UK is completely unregulated, like completely. Like there is anyone can call themselves a coach, and that's why I started kind of talking quite a lot about you are allowed to ask a person to show you their DBS, which is like the crime check, whatever. It used to be called CRB, crime something. Now it's called DBS, which is confusing. I don't know what it stands for anymore. You can ask them for that. You can ask them for their actual diploma. You know, it's this kind of thing that, again, anyone can write on their website that they are a qualified therapist in principle, right?
Yeah.
Don't even start me on the mentors and coaches because anyone can do that. In terms of therapist, if you misuse a certain term like art psychotherapist as a occupation is regulated in the UK, but art therapy isn't.
Yeah.
So again, it's those kind of blind spots that we are not aware of, right? So like anyone can call themselves a coach, some people, and obviously if someone calls themselves a therapist and they're not one, they can get sued. But who is ever going to go that far, etc. So I would say ask. First of all, ask and withdraw. You know, if you don't feel safe, if you don't feel like this person has qualifications to actually support you. Again, qualifications are not necessarily a sign of the good therapist. Yeah. But at least they provide you with that kind of idea that this person has gone through quite a rigid process of a training.
Yeah.
Right.
And we talk about, my brain's also thinking about like the outer framework, inner framework. Our studies have that. So the outer framework being more like the policies, qualifications, the bigger things, and then so you're going to look for all of those things like you've just said, like the qualifications, the procedures. Maybe there's a confidential document.
Yes, are they?
All
do
those
they
things.
provide you with a contract? You know, do you enter a contract? Do they have responsibilities towards you? You know, as much as like you have to pay them, etc., and so on. What responsibilities do they have towards you? Like how are they going to practically keep you safe if anything happens or if anything was to happen, right?
Yeah,
that is important.
And then there's all the inner framework stuff. So just like them turning up on time, being where they should be,
absolutely,
not oversharing.
Yes, and again, you can always, when it comes to therapeutic relationship, and this is a little bit less descriptive or less prescriptive, sorry, not the same therapist will be right for every person, right? So a part of this will be the vibe, will be the gut feeling, will be like, do I feel comfortable and safe with this person? And if not, can I explore it with them? Can I express that, you know, in front of them? Can we talk about this? Is it useful for therapeutic process, or is it just beyond that and I just need to withdraw myself, right?
Yeah.
And it's important to kind of trust ourselves in that process as well, I think, and not just go to someone because your colleague or friend or mother, father recommended, you know, because try them, absolutely, go and chat to them, but don't take it for granted that something or someone who worked really well for someone else is going to instantly be the right person for you either. Yeah.
I always say picking a good therapist is like picking a good hairdresser. Although my mum was a hairdresser, so maybe not. But but like
that's deep. We could go there, but we're not gonna go.
But you can you can go and have a haircut, and it might not be the right haircut for you at that time.
Exactly.
And you need different hairdressers at different points in your life as you grow. You're need different things, and I think that's the same for therapists. Sometimes you'll need one,
absolutely.
and
and ask questions. Like the therapist it's interesting, isn't it? Because I always say it's a huge privilege with every starting every new therapeutic relationship with every new client. at some point this comes to me and I name it and I say, listen, this is a privilege for me as a
Yeah.
therapist to sit with you. You give me so much.
Yeah.
Right? You give me
Trust.
everything.
Yeah.
Oh, right? The
Yeah.
stories, the trust,
Yeah.
your life. I am suddenly privy to everything, to
Yeah.
everything that you decide to give me. It's huge. And equally, to get there, you need to feel like I am the person. So ask me the questions. I might not be able to answer all the questions. That's a different thing because obviously it's not about me, etc. But when it comes to safety, when it comes to, you feeling comfortable in this space or being curious about why am I doing something? That's why I'm also quite transparent with my clients in terms of where I come from with everything that I say in terms of my therapeutic background or in terms of my learnings or in terms of kind of philosophical ideas that I bring in sometimes into therapy. I choose to be quite transparent and I say, listen, this reminds me of this theory, those people believe, or like this has been said, and I kind of try to anchor it a little bit into that. It's not just me. And that might be, a supervision thing to discuss in why don't I trust maybe fully myself? Why do I have to do that? Someone could question, why do you have to bring those theories and why can't you just support? But I think for a lot of neurodivergent clients, I found as well specifically that need to know is even deeper than with the kind of client who isn't neurodivergent, a neurotypical client, where it's just like, to build the trust, the information and knowledge is quite important as well. I actually wrote about it for LinkedIn the other day. It was a quick post, didn't really land very well. But I was like, I asked how can you, it was something around, I would like my therapist to know things. I would like my therapist, I would like to know that my therapist knows. I would like to know that my therapist is holding a certain level of expertise, knowledge, experience. I would feel safer with someone who in some way I trust has done their work. And that might be on the level of this reflective practice, their own therapy, But also I want them to know things from books. I want them to be smart, not just on what their experience, but also what other people have kind of taught them.
It's a balance, isn't it? Because it's like what you bring in that, and then also allowing them to be the teacher as well and teaching you.
Absolutely.
And so it's like, it's that two-way process.
Yeah.
You said through my education or like my lived experience with neurodivergence, blah, 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 blah. What about your experience with healing? Or what does that word mean to you, healing? And if you're like, I hate that word, healing, or it's such a big word, but
it's a big word. It's a big word. And sometimes I feel like it's pushed, shoved towards those words that are like, self-care. That has been, that became quite charged, hasn't it? It's like, devalued almost. And I don't think we should. I think we should keep coming back to what that word means to us. And funnily enough, I'm gonna go almost stream of consciousness here because yes, and I'm happy to talk about it because I shared that with actually most of my clients because I think it's a fabulous tool. I've been going through the process of very active healing recently, where I've been reconnecting quite a lot with my body on that kind of somatic level, on the level of regaining control and reminding myself that I am in control of more maybe than I at times feel like I am. So in the recent year, my healing has looked like reconnecting with my body and reminding myself that healing can happen on many different levels. So I've been swimming from last summer. I've been doing quite a lot of wild swimming and learning how to breathe in water again, reminding myself of the kind of benefit of that it brings to my mental health, to my sense of self. For me, healing is about being connected to myself and recognizing my needs in the moment as well, and not forgetting about myself. I feel like the healing is almost like an ongoing process, of being connected to self, I
It's
suppose.
quite,
Just making that definition now.
yeah. And I'm kind of
Mm,
making the links, which I haven't thought about before, of it being quite,
mm.
or it can be quite a spiritual word.
Yeah. Well, I think that's why a lot of people dismiss it as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
I think a lot of people dismiss that word because it goes from that territory of something more, therapeutic, scientific even, to like, a vibe again, that
yeah,
vibe, that vibe territory, which is more important than we give it credit for, I think,
yeah,
actually, overall.
yeah. But isn't it that thing of like when you are really in distress or where you are really in need, or if you're going through grief, you
Mm.
connect to that spirituality more than
Yeah,
not.
yeah,
When you're going
yeah,
through a big change, or
yeah.
when you really need
Mm,
something,
mm.
like people might not have prayed in their life, and then they're like in a really desperate time and they're down on their knees, like
Gosh,
begging,
yes,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Or when
yeah.
you are so close to death, whether it be depression or addiction or just really at the bottom of the kind of barrel or whatever you want to call it. Like
Yeah.
normally it can be a really spiritual,
Oh,
like you're
absolutely,
looking for something,
absolutely.
aren't you? You're looking to fill
Yeah.
that kind of void. And
Yeah, but then what is it, right? What is it overall? It is this connection to something. Connection to what? Also to self, to me. Like there is
yeah,
something spiritual even in that connection to self, the deeper connection to self.
yeah.
And there is something prayer like in, for example, repetitive movement or working with your breath. And that's
Mm,
another thing that I've been doing quite a lot, where I've been kind of um looking for the ways to exercise my body, to be with my body, which helped me to almost like in that kind of meditative way reconnect to the sense
mm,
of agency, to the
yeah,
same sense of control, to the sense of my center, again and again, those words, spiritual, verging
yeah,
on, right? It's like,
yeah,
what am I borrowing from? But why
yeah,
are we borrowing from that? We're
yeah,
borrowing because it fits, because it makes sense, right?
yeah,
Because so those for me, the healing in the last year or so has looked much more like reconnecting, connecting, finding that body center, mind body center of
yeah.
sorts, where is
Alignment.
this? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, my dog is having a dream here on the carpet and she started
Cute.
waggling her tail in the
She's aligned.
dream.
um, and that's quite hard for a lot of people,
Oof,
like
yeah,
neurodivergent people being in the body, tics, or doing things they don't
yeah,
want, or a lot of
yeah.
time it can maybe come with chronic pain or
Oh,
living through.
absolutely,
It can be really,
absolutely.
really difficult in that.
Mm.
And I know that at a time for you would have been really difficult.
Oh yeah,
And yeah,
yeah.
it's how are you managing that?
It's difficult, and what comes to mind is that image that goes around, or like a video that goes around Instagram right now, of like, as a woman you have to drink a green juice in the morning, go to do yoga at 8 a.m., go and do a wild swim at 10, although you live in a city, at 11 go and pick up your kids from crash, whatever. How do you do all of that consciously, with alignment with your mind, with alignment with your body, etc.? It's difficult. It's usually a compromise of sorts in my life, at least.
Mm,
For me, it's a plan. I have to have a plan. Like I had to resign myself to a plan. I don't like a plan. I think plan comes with this like lack of fluidity, and I've got a little bit of that. I well, I'm a bit standoffish when it comes to a plan. If something's planned, I used to be more likely not to do it. So again, that kind of neurodivergent need for autonomy, just kind
yeah.
of like, I'm not going to do this because I know I should. So I remember, I will never forget, and again, this is me sharing something personal, but it's a very old and very small thing. Every Saturday in my house when I was a kid, everyone would just wake up automatically, and we knew that we have to do cleaning, right? Because Saturday morning is a cleaning time. And I was just, I could clean. I loved it. Like I didn't mind it, but I would never want to do it on Saturday
Mm,
morning, But I've learned that a vague plan, or a plan that can change in some ways, I give myself that leeway. That's help. Like not yesterday, day before yesterday. It's a weird week because we had a bank holiday. Uh, on Wednesdays, I usually write my book, or this is my book writing day, or I assume that will be my writing day. You see the language is changing slowly. But this Wednesday, it was just impossible.
Yeah.
I was just feeling so dysregulated. I was tired. I didn't have a good night's sleep. I couldn't focus at all. Like, I just couldn't focus. I was sitting there. By midday, I had like 200 words, which is literally like a title. You know, it's like nothing. It's like a one little paragraph. And I was like, this is painful. It was feeling pain. It was feeling so forced and painful. I said, like, no, I'm going out. I'm going to take the dog to the beach. We're going to go and have a little run. And it is a privilege. Again, it's a privilege to be able to say, not today. Today I'm choosing something else. It's a huge privilege. And I know not everyone is granted that privilege.
Well, I think
but I'm trying to use that.
It's a skill, isn't it? And obviously we've both had a lot of therapy and our therapists do that internal work. But I feel like it's that real deep listening to yourself, not surface listening, like what's under that. So, you know, for instance, like if a lot of people get angry, they may be really upset. Or if something's not like they're sitting there and they're like, oh, I'm distracted. It may be like, actually, maybe I need to rest. Like it's just that real deep listening, which can be really hard in fast paced lives. But I suppose doing that healing work, like whether it be journaling, whether it be talking to someone, for my poor partner, for me, there's periods of time where I'm just like, okay, I just need to debrief to you for 10 minutes at the end of the day. And I just sit and I'm just like, just listen to me, just while I debrief, just so I can really be heard. Or it may be like that body, you know, just being in the body and really listening to the body or whatever. But yeah, that kind of taking that healing of like taking time to just really have that deep listening. However that may be, even if it's not words that you can hear, it could just be a feeling or you know, it may not be understood straight away.
No, it doesn't have to be translated here and then, there and then, right? It doesn't have to kind of click straight away that this is what it was. But giving it space sometimes helps. And however that space looks like, because I know for me it is solitude, no people, and, you know, being on my own in my body, so I can hear it, so I can hear what is actually going on. But I know that for a lot of people it is a dance. It is, you know, being around other people, having someone to talk to, having someone to explore things with. For others it will be expression of sorts, creative expression, whether it's words based or image based or it's all very different for us, and we need to test and explore to find what works as well.
Even just as simple as like opening your music app and being like, what song am I pulled to dance to, or something so simple like that. And
I've got a Pinterest board as well for my clients that I send to them sometimes, depending on who I'm working with. It's like a check me in Pinterest board. It's got like 300 or 400 images on it now, which is like very random as I could make it. Images that people can use to like check in with themselves and be like, what are you drawn to? And then, like, if you want to sit with it a bit longer, it's so easy. It's so simple. It's like many, many different images. If you choose them for yourself, it can become a little bit biased in some way. You know, you're drawn to certain aesthetic, etc. So I try to create it in a way that has many different aesthetics in it. It's quite varied. Has both photographs and artworks and illustrations and some words-based images even, depending on what your language is and what you need in that day. And you go through it, whatever you're drawn to, don't edit, choose. And if you want to, reflect. You know, give yourself another 5 minutes to sit with that image and think, like, why did I choose this? What the hell? What is this person dressed up as a big yellow bird sitting on the bench? And it's one of the images that a lot of people choose recently. It's a man dressed up as a, you know, big yellow bird from Sesame Street. Big bird, I don't know what it's called. Sitting on a bench in where it looks like a Central Park in New York or somewhere like that. And it's a kind of gloomy grey day. And it's an image that keeps coming back from that Pinterest board to a lot of people. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Something collective there, something sitting in the collective unconscious.
Well, I suppose we do we both do like probably done like collage groups. You know, it's just such an easy one to do to it, where you pick images that you're drawn to.
So much more accessible. Yes.
But it's like similar to that, but obviously online. If I have a question, If
Yes.
you are someone who you might not have a diagnosis, maybe going to a psychiatrist might be either too expensive or not accessible, or it's too scary, but you have a feeling like, I feel like I'm thinking a little bit more different to the norm, or things that people are teaching me aren't landing.
Yeah.
What would you say would be your advice to them of getting help? It might not necessarily be a diagnosis, but it may be kind of the work that you do in your sessions. Where do you think they should go for that?
It's an interesting one, because I might say something controversial here.
Say it.
First of all, well, there are groups online, but even, people who talk about neurodivergence on places like TikTok or Instagram, and I know that sounds crazy, but overall, we look for belonging, and I think we miss belonging in 2026. We miss this sense of being close or similar to someone, of connecting with people. And for a lot of, specifically, younger, but also older people, like nowadays, it doesn't really matter how old you are. You can find this community very often online. And I know that those communities exist. And it's not just, following someone on Instagram and being validated by what they post, although that also helps a lot of people. I'll be really honest with you. Some of it is made up. Some of this is more scientifically based. Some of it is less. I would say there isn't that much danger in that. And when it comes to neurodivergence, it's mostly quite validating. And at least it kind of pushes you to a little bit more of a self-check and self-exploration. And I also know that some of those people who are out there kind of facilitate free communities, and, they invite you to join certain groups. Some of them are paid, and I would be always a bit wary of that, because I'll be like, are we making business out of this, or are we trying to just connect people? So but there are options out there when it comes to this. But equally, if you currently are in therapy, or if you're talking to a counselor, or you've got a mentor, a coach, whoever, mention that to them. Mention that to your teachers. Mention to them, like, listen, this is not working for me. I've noticed that, when I'm listening to you, nothing stays. It's like nothing stays. It's something that, I suppose the first step would be to trust yourself. Try to kind of talk to yourself about, do I trust myself enough to start verbalizing that, or start kind of communicating that with other people? Because it's sad, but people are not able to help us very often unless we tell them how to, or unless we name our needs, right? Unless we say, it doesn't have to be a neurodivergence or diagnosed neurodivergence so that we can ask for support, or so that we can ask for a different way of information being sent to us or communicated to us. I think that's the simplest change that we can put in place. Ask for what would make your life easier. And we are allowed, like in the UK, even the government schemes like Access to Work, which supports, for example, neurodivergent people with being able to stay within employment, they don't care if you've got a paper that says that you are officially diagnosed. They assess your needs on the basis of what you say. Those are my needs. I have experienced symptoms of ADHD, or I have experienced symptoms that align with
That's
autism.
so good.
And overall, even the government, which is obviously underfunded and it's not doing enough to support people, but it's fine. They recognize that it doesn't matter where your needs come from, in a way, because more important is to make you happy, so that you can work, right? So actually it's more beneficial to society if your needs are being met. Right.
I'll make sure I link that, because I think that's really important. Here it's going the other, it's very much the other way. You do.
I don't know how it's going to be here, because there are so many different voices here getting louder and louder, because people are saying that everyone is neurodivergent now. People are saying that it's a shortcut, it's an excuse, and those voices exist. But self-diagnosis is still valid here in the UK. So
I suppose it goes that real deep listening of like trusting yourself. And maybe if you, because I'm thinking of a lot of people, they may be in an environment where they're not fitting, or they're not feeling authentic. Or they may not be in a safe space to kind of maybe access therapy, like they may be a straight white male man of a certain age. And like going, but I think that real like going to a therapist or a professional, if it's not working, they are linked in. And if you're a good therapist, you hear that and you go, okay, I might not be the therapist for you then.
Absolutely.
But most therapists will be linked in with the therapy community or know of different sites that you can go on, so you can access more of the therapy that you need. So for instance, like your walk and talk. Is that
walk
the right?
And talk. It's the easiest way of describing it. I think it's very often it's walk and not talk. It's very often walk and notice, walk and look at things together, walk and collect things, break things, throw things. It depends.
We've got a little bit more time left. Just a short. I just want to hear more about your book before I let you go.
Oh wow, where did that come from? This is grand. My book is something that I didn't expect to be writing. It's something that I didn't believe. Again, the self-belief comes in, right? It's something that I have been slightly pushed by my closest and dearest people to try and do. And then I've realized, well, because I've been banging on about the fact that therapy, exactly what you named today, before I even had a chance to go there, you named the fact how different the reality of training can look from the reality of working as a therapist, not only in different countries, but just full stop with different client groups. I've realized how much self-help books for neurodivergent people are out there. I realized how many coaches promote themselves and promote their practices as neurodivergent specific, etc. and so on. And I was getting a little bit frustrated because none of this seemed to be transparently rooted in a theory or practice or the learnings that are, as I said today already, that are slightly more grounded in what we've been studying, for example, in what we've been told is important. And I was wondering, and also the book also comes from the place of me wanting to have more therapists around me that I can, with full trust, send my access clients to, actually, because I think it is a niche that is still missing specialists, actually. And so I started researching and thinking about, how do I actually work with neurodivergent clients? What is it that makes my clients move on, makes my clients feel like after a period of work with me, they feel like they have arrived somewhere in regards to their neurodivergent identity, or in regards to how they're handling and living their lives, how they feel with themselves, etc. and so on. And therefore my book appeared from all of that. The book is aimed mostly at therapists, coaches, professionals that support neurodivergent people. In principle, mostly at creative therapists, or therapists that are keen to explore creative ways of working. And it explores that shift from what we've been taught, or from what we are still being taught at universities, towards how the practicalities of work with very different people can look like. I steer away from saying this is how you work with ADHDers, this is how you work with autistic people. I'm trying to write and present the work and the reasons for particular ways of working with people who receive the world differently, who communicate with the world differently, who process information differently. So this is the principle of this is what the book is about, really.
Having that real intersectional, it sounds amazing, having that real intersectional lens. And I imagine a lot of, I know a lot of psychologists who do get diagnosed or are neurodivergent, find that their way of working for them isn't working. Like they're sitting there with maybe like fidget things, or like they have to work in a different way. And
can I wear, what can I wear to work? How can I find a space that will be comfortable for me to sit throughout, hour after hour after hour of, staring at someone and working with someone, etc. and so on. So this is all kind of connected to different theories as well. As I said, for me, it's important that everything that I write about is either supported by the studies or in a lesser form some of my practical experience of working with clients, but I'm trying to root that all in some solid theory as well, because I think this is important to keep our people safe.
So much. Yeah, and therapists safe. I could talk about this for so much longer. My brain's going do 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 do. How, you know, a lot of neurodivergent people are more sponge-worthy to emotion and need to have more breaks, or anyway. But we'll have to stop because obviously Polly's in the UK and it's her morning and it's my nighttime. So I need to get some sleep.
My brain always is like, how can we do this? How is this even possible? That we can connect from those like two distant places. I actually work with one client that's in Australia, funnily enough. And yeah, we usually meet in my morning, their afternoon, or their evening as well.
And a lot of UK, the art therapy world is small. So when we're looking for supervisors and supervisions, often like my supervisor's in New Zealand. So often we go to like other pools because otherwise we're all knowing each other and
all
it can get a bit like grey. So sometimes which works for some people. That's really good for like in some aspect. Thank you so much for speaking to me, Polly.
Thank you. Pleasure.
And I think there might have to be a part 2 to this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
As we wrap up this episode of Voices of Healing, I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our wonderful guests for sharing their invaluable insights and personal stories. Stay connected for more inspiring conversations, expert insights and practical advice. If you want to be part of the series or want more information, get in touch either through our website or Instagram. Thank you for joining us today. And until next time, be kind and take care of yourself and those around you.